always work. Well, it did that one time.
Oh, shit!
Where you going? Where you doing?
This is much worse than I thought.
Welcome back, true believers and all you merry Marvelites, to another very exciting Marvel's Midnight Suns related video, where today, as of June 9th, 2022, was the Summer Games Fest presentation hosted by Jeff Keighley, where it was previously confirmed by Firaxis Games and 2K and Marvel that we were going to receive a brand new showcase of Marvel's Midnight Suns, and today we finally got that in full, with a brand new in-game/CG trailer for the game, fully confirming Spider-Man, Venom, and Scarlet Witch as characters to be included within the game's story. We also got a lot of gameplay footage from a plethora of gaming journalist publications like Game Informer and IGN, which fully displayed a lot of different assets that the game will include. We also have the game's official release date launching on October 7th of this year, and 3 separate editions of the game, with the Standard Edition, Enhanced Edition, which comes with the base game and 5 extra skins, and the $100 priced Legendary Edition, which includes 23 extra cosmetics for all the main characters, and a Season Pass for the game, which is going to include brand new playable heroes, enemies, missions, and more. But everything that we have seen from this game as of today is still extremely similar to what we have already received in the previous highlights coming directly from the game's publisher and developer, where knowing that Marvel's Midnight Suns is not planned to be any type of Spider-Man PS4 or Batman Arkham level of AAA superhero game, but instead it is a real-time strategy tactics-based RPG set within the darker side of the Marvel Universe, because the main developers of this game is none other than Firaxis, who are the primary developers responsible for the XCOM series. So if any of you are seeing this game as to be like a mobile game or bad, it's just that it is a title set in a different genre of playstyle, and whether or not that the game will be enjoyable will be up for you to decide if you end up purchasing it. But coming from a gaming enthusiast like myself who does thoroughly appreciate a majority of different genres for games, I definitely understand that Marvel is going to take a different direction with Midnight Suns, but I'm still hoping that the game itself will be enjoyable for the type of genre that it is embodying. And today, joining me with this topic is the one and only Ghosty, who you might remember from any of my previous live streams and is a longtime member of the Spidey Squad community. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ghosty. How you doing?
Hello everyone, how's everyone doing? I'm so glad to be here finally on a video from the man himself, from Filarca, and yeah, I'm doing really good, so thank you for having me in this channel, Evan. It's really appreciated.
Ghosty and I directly want to discuss about everything that we currently have seen for Marvel's Midnight Suns, and whether or not we should be really hyped or possibly hesitant towards exactly what type of game this is going to be. So, for you, Ghosty, based on the brand new demo and trailer that we have seen for Marvel's Midnight Suns, and everything that we currently know about it, what is your overall thought process right now in terms of how Firaxis and 2K is developing this game into a full-on Marvel-focused real-time strategy game, almost in the sense of how the XCOM series operates, but also providing a bit of an RPG flair like the Persona games by allowing you as the playable character of the Hunter getting closer and closer on a personal level to each of these individual heroes that you can interact with within the Marvel Universe.
I think it's a really interesting idea, and I like how they actually decided to go on a different approach where you can have a character like the Hunter, who is basically like the player character that gets to interact with all these iconic Marvel heroes. And it's really cool that they're doing this type of stuff because we haven't really seen this type of concept where the player character gets to interact with these legends of the Marvel Universe, since the only other time that something like this were to happen was in the Marvel game titled X-Men Destiny that came out years and years ago. That was the only other game that I can think of that did a similar premise where the player character gets to choose as 3 different custom characters that all gets to interact with all of the other X-Men. So I think it's interesting that they decide to take a similar premise, but obviously changing the story, the character, and the overall tone and the context of the game. So now it's your character, the hunter, that gets to interact with all these heroes, and it's interesting how you can actually get to spend time with them and develop personal relationship with all of them. If it is handled well, it could be something really cool and something unique to the game. But I'm also like kind of like a little concerned that if the relationships or the way that you get to spend time with characters isn't really like done well, like if it's not like out of the ordinary by, like, just say, like for example in Persona 5, for example, you get to spend time with each of the characters by doing activities, going to restaurants, or just playing games with them and all of that, like just developing a relationship with them that actually makes the relationship closer and closer. And so that's basically what I'm hoping we get to see, something like that, but for Marvel Midnight Suns. So if they were to do something like that, then it could be something really cool and could be handled well properly.
Totally agree, because that is one element that I definitely think Midnight Suns has an advantage on in comparison to the other Marvel games that we have received in the past. Even though I love the majority of their recent AAA games like the Insomniac Spider-Man franchise with Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales, as well as my game of the year last year in 2021, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and a fairly enjoyable enough story campaign with Ms. Marvel and Kamala Khan reassembling the Avengers in the Marvel's Avengers game, I think this has a lot more uniqueness to it where you are the main protagonist. Not in the sense that you're playing as these characters who you can control during combat, like Spider-Man, like Blade, like Iron Man, like Magic, all these other Marvel heroes from different Marvel groups like the Avengers, X-Men, and so on, which is going to be fun in its own right, but allowing you to dive deeper into the Marvel Universe by customizing the Hunter and making it your own unique superhero while interacting with all these other characters, and again, like a Persona system, building confidants, relationships, and strengthening bonds, is definitely going to be an aspect of the game which I personally can see myself enjoying quite thoroughly. And it's going to be even more interesting to see where your connections with these characters will go by the time you start the game versus by the time you end up getting closer to the finale or the ending section of the game, where you will have strengthened your bonds with each individual character that will join the playable roster. And also what the crux of the story will relate to pertaining to Lilith, the Mother of Demons, and all of the demonic villains that will incorporate the antagonists of the story, like Venom. We saw in the newest trailer Demon Hulk, pretty much. Sabretooth is going to get controlled by Lilith as well. So having that newer, darker flair of the supernatural elements of the Marvel Universe taking full force of this story while doing new things with all these characters is definitely going to be fun. However, one issue that I do currently have with this game, and we might end up seeing these characters join the roster later down the line, is that this is a Midnight Suns focused game. But it's odd that the majority of the Midnight Suns characters from the comics, besides Doctor Strange, Blade, and Ghost Rider, don't seem to be really the main focus of the game. Of course, I'm mainly talking about characters like Moon Knight, Punisher, another cool character like Nightcrawler, and a lot more of the darker and supernatural-focused heroes that we do know from the Marvel Comics, but instead we're getting heroes like the Avengers, the X-Men, and even Spider-Man taking a prominent stance within the overall narrative of the game, and as playable heroes that we will be able to upgrade down the line. I'm all for seeing Spider-Man in the game, but he was honestly the last character that I would think would show up within a Midnight Suns focused game. It is still going to be interesting to see what Firaxis does with these characters and how they're going to further expand their connections with the Hunter and the universe that Firaxis is currently building.
I think it's going to be interesting how Firaxis and 2K will be able to handle this version of the Marvel Universe, because as Bill Roseman said, they much rather prefer each of these game developers to tackle and create their own Marvel Universe instead of creating a Marvel gaming universe, which, as much as Evan and I, we will love the idea of a shared Marvel gaming universe, I think there's a reason, and an understandable reason, as to why the developers much rather prefer these games to all take place in their own separate universe, so then the developers can do some more creative stuff and do something really unique with their story in their Marvel Universe. So I think it's going to be interesting how this version of the Midnight Suns will be handled in the game. However, I'm hoping that there's at least an excuse or a reason as to why characters are not necessarily part of the team of the Midnight Suns team, like Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and so on. They all have a reason to be there and not just be like, oh, we have these characters here because of recognition brand or stuff like that. And so I hope that they have a worthy excuse, or at least a proper reason to be in there, to serve the story, and not just because we need to have popular characters in our games. So I hope that they serve a purpose in the story and not just be there for the sake of being there.
And I would also apply that to the game's combat system as well, given that that particular aspect of the game has turned quite a lot of people off, since, again, this is not like a free-flow combat system, or even more of a turn-based combat system, again, like the Persona games, but a real-time strategic card-based battle system that Firaxis is going to be utilizing for the Marvel Universe with all these characters, like what we have seen in the gameplay footage, where it does seem a bit slow and more thought-provoking versus simply going in and attacking without any thought at all. So that more slower paced type of combat system is definitely going to either sell people on the game instantly or turn them off completely. But again, it's simply the type of genre that Firaxis is kind of known for with the XCOM games, and they're just going to be applying that within the Marvel Universe, but hopefully bringing a bit of flair and uniqueness to the style of combat that we haven't seen be applied already within the XCOM games. Still, it definitely looks like it's going to be fun controlling each of the individual heroes, but I'm just hoping, as well as Ghosty, that they will make use of every single character to their max possible potential.
Yeah, that's what everyone has been turned off about, is how the gameplay system is using a card-based type of gameplay for this game, instead of something, what we usually see in, in the Spider-Man games or in the Arkham games. But I think, this could be handled well, if it is, if they handle this gameplay system well, and if it is at least engaging or intriguing for the player, then I could see them, playing this game for hours and hours until they eventually beat the story or they beat the game 100%. But I can also understand why some people can be turned off about it, because if they see this type of gameplay as, very, as Evan just said, they're slow, provoking, and not really doing a lot, then I could see them, being bored or just not really being engaged with that type of gameplay, and not really giving them a reason to continue playing the game, which could be an understandable issue for not being excited for this game. But ultimately, I think this will ultimately depend on what type of genre are you into. If you like the genre that this game is into, that this game is based on, then I think you will definitely enjoy this game for what it is. But if you're someone who is just not a fan of this type of genre, then we can understand not being excited for this game, because the type of gameplay that it has is just not really for you. That could be an understandable reason, but ultimately, whether you like that genre or not, you have to accept that that's how the game is. It's not like this game was going to be like an action third-person adventure game or anything. No, that's how the game is because of the developer's previous history with the XCOM games. So if you're excited for the game or not, you have to understand that that's how Midnight Suns was always meant to be. You have to see this game for what it is, and not for is what they intended the game to be, and not as anything else. Just take that as a consideration.
In the end, everybody, it definitely seems like Marvel's Midnight Suns is surely going to be a genre-defying Marvel game on consoles in comparison to what the majority of gamers are used to with these big AAA level releases like Marvel's Spider-Man or even Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, but applying it into a different genre, which hopefully will expose people more to what Firaxis is used to with the XCOM games, and maybe might enjoy it more so than what they have already done in the past, and find even more opportunities to dive into the Marvel Universe in a very intriguing way that they might not been able to do so before in the previous games that Marvel has already released. And I, for one, am just looking forward to see exactly what Firaxis is going to display for the game next. And with all that said, everybody, that is the video that Ghosty and I both have for you today, and please let us know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. What do you think about Marvel's Midnight Suns? Are you personally excited for the game? Did these newest trailers and gameplay showcases do anything for you? Or is this type of game not going to be for you? Let us know all your thoughts, and be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy and for more Marvel games content like this in the future. And I could not do this video without my buddy Ghosty joining me for this discussion. Thank you so much for joining me, dude. I had a wonderful time.
Thank you, Evan, for having me on this video. It's been wonderful, and it's always a great time just talking to you about all these Marvel games. If Midnight Suns is not the success that we were hoping for, at least, you know, we enjoy it for the type of game that it is.
And with all that said, true believers, thank you all so much for watching. Stay merry, Marvelites, and peace out.